Welcome to from Prerona Television Canada and also from Global Academy of Holistic Leadership and Coaching. This is our honor and privilege that we are continuing our weekly speaker series. This is business economy and entrepreneurship. So today is our fifth episode, and we're very glad that we're having Mohammad Sazan Siddiqui from Bangladesh. He's a legal economist, and today's our topic is doing business, uh, Bangladesh perspective. So I would like to ask first Mohammad Sazan Siddiqui to introduce himself and then continue his presentation.
Hello, Mohammad Shazan Siddiqui from Dhaka. I am a legal economist and a regular columnist in daily newspaper, and also author of some books. Recently, one of my publication, namely Ease of Doing Business and Ease of Economic Development. It is it is on the basis of the ease of doing business in Bangladesh perspective. So I can outline the some of the articles presented in the book, which is related to the regulatory obstacle of business in Bangladesh. That's all.
So this series that we are continuing is called Business Economy and Entrepreneurship series. So the purpose of having this series is to promote business, economy, and entrepreneurship across the globe. So we are based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So Global Academy of Holistic Leadership and Coaching is a federally incorporated um, institute and also is registered in Ontario and Alberta. We are in collaboration with Prerona Television Canada. Prerona Television is also registered in Canada, is a media platform. So through which we are conducting a lot of workshops, training, and in line with that, we are having today fifth episode of business economy and entrepreneurship. So we are very happy that we are having an economist from Bangladesh, and this series will specifically, uh, discuss about what are the facilities of the uh, how to do business in Bangladesh. Uh, Mr. Sadhan Siddiqui has already he is author of a number of books. One of his books, recent books, is of doing business. So he will share his experience. So I now request Mohammad Sadhan Siddiqui to share his screen.
Is it okay for now?
Yes, you can continue. Just share your screen, please. If you have
I,
trouble,
I am trying to share. I don't know whether it is shown in the screen.
no, it's
I
not
think I
shown in
don't
the
think.
screen. It's not shown in the screen. Or you can send it to me. I will share for you.
How can I send it to you?
You can send it in the um, send it by mail or whatever.
Achha, okay, I am sending it
Yeah,
from
I will
mail.
share with you for now. So in between, I'll just share with what we are doing. We had a couple of other sessions that we had earlier. We discussed about how to be an entrepreneur, and also we also had one economist from Canada, and he shared about the context in Canada, global uh, perspective. And also we had other sessions. In upcoming sessions, we're also planning to get more on SMEs, small and medium scale enterprises. Earlier, one of the sessions we had a small and medium scale enterprises, the financing, how to do financing, small and medium scale enterprises. As you know that like due to pandemic, we are having a lot of issues. So government is providing all the packages for the small businesses. In Canada, like there's government, federal government is offering a lot of benefits for small businesses, right? They have also providing a rent subsidy, waste subsidy, a business loan, and very easy business loan. So these are the benefits here they're providing to encourage small and medium scale, medium enterprises to sustain into the business. So this is very important for actually for the economy, like because large sort of economy is actually depends upon small and medium enterprises. So here in Canada, we can see that yes, there are many small businesses they are struggling because due to pandemic, their businesses are closed, their storefronts they cannot open due to this pandemic. They're to lockdown, so it is very difficult for them to survive and be in the business. So Mr. Sadhan Siddiqui will share his experience from Bangladesh perspective. So I guess, and here in Canada, we are also having number of other agencies like city-based agencies and a number of other non-profit agencies also. They are providing a lot of benefits, like economic development for the association, and many associations are actually providing benefits to the small and medium scale enterprises. For the large corporations, they are already in the business and they have things. So we are only focusing small and medium scale enterprises. Because there's many employees or many people are depends upon the small and medium scale enterprises. So in globally also we can see because of this pandemics, many businesses are suffering. In Bangladesh too, right? There's many businesses, small and medium enterprises, they're suffering. So we are actually will be will be taking will be having a lot of series where we'll be focusing on how the small and medium enterprises can do businesses. The first we started with how to be an entrepreneur, what are the challenges and what are the way outs, and then also the financing, small and medium scale enterprises financing. What are the financing options? Where do you get finances? And how to apply for the financing. And then also we also looking forward like other technological challenges in the future. We'll also focus on that. What are the technological challenges? There is also issues on cyber security. The issues of the using of technology, artificial intelligence, and many other latest technology that has been used to enhance the businesses. So we will be interested, right, for focusing on this one so that small and medium enterprises can grow their businesses. So we are very happy that this like government is actually providing some benefits. So we'll be sharing with you in a bit. So let me share the screen. Just give me a second. Thank you for your patience, those who are following with us. So because of time and those who are following with us, I would like to ask one question to Mohammad Sazan Siddiqui. Can you give us a basic concept before we start? Just take maybe 2 minutes for me to start this session. So can you share your experience, about the context of Bangladesh context, a brief Bangladesh
Um,
context?
uh, Thank you very much. I want to refer to the study made by World Bank on globally in 190 countries. They have surveyed the ease of doing business, or the obstacle faces by the entrepreneurs to start up and or to do the business, continue the business in 190 economies. They are doing this survey since 2004 and continued up to this year, to 2020. For they have 16 report already, each and every year one, and they surveyed they discuss with the entrepreneurs, and they measure the perception, and also if there is any improvement, they evaluate how the index or score improved in any country. So they also supplement the study perception through the documentary evidence that for the change of some rules and regulation or improvement of some rules and regulation, the perception of the entrepreneurs improves. So Bangladesh is not in a very good position. Bangladesh, out of 190, Bangladesh's position is 187 at the bottom within the bottom 5 countries of the world. So that's why it prompted me to write a book on this, to study whether the study is correct or not. Then I have evaluated the situation here. I have strictly followed the variables they have taken for the study. These are the 10 variables. Uh, and each and for each and every variables, I have written 10 chapters for this book. And so my study, in fact, supplemented the study outcome of the World Bank on Bangladesh. So this is that's why I think this book is very much useful for the policymakers of Bangladesh and also the investors, so that they understand the real obstacle, where is the real obstacles of doing business in Bangladesh. And the book has been appreciated by his policymakers. Some of them got the book already. Some of the dignitaries who abroad, they have collected my book. So they are evaluating, including the World Bank. World Bank also collected my book, and they are also evaluating. So the primary reaction from the local World Bank Bangladesh unit is that they can now negotiate with the government for the reform, or specifically point out the problem of each and every law, what should be amended. So this way I believe it is a useful book for the policymakers, for the advisors, and the practitioners.
Right. So yes, one of the things that I would like to ask, I'm just still downloading your presentation, so just give me a few more minutes. But
Yeah.
we had like you have already mentioned that you have already done. So do you find any challenges? Right. What are the challenges right now for doing business in Bangladesh? Just give me a very brief maybe overview of what are the challenges you are
Uh,
having.
so the study has 10 variables, what I already told you. If I tell you the 10 variable, name of the 10 variables, then you will understand. The starting a business. Number one index variable is starting a business. It means the procedure, time, cost, and minimum capital to open a new business. These are the points evaluated by the study. And the second variable is dealing with construction permits. It means procedure, time, and cost to build a warehouse. The third one is the getting electricity. The procedure, time, and cost required for a business to obtain a permission, a permanent electricity calculation for a newly constructed warehouse or a industry. Registering property. Industry require property, land, building for setting up industry. So the procedure of registration, time, cost to register commercial real estate or an industry. Getting credit, bank loan, strength of the legal rights index, depth of credit information index. These two they have evaluated. The next one is the protecting investors. Investors means the overseas investor or the minority investors in Bangladesh. In a company, usually the minority investor or the small investors are the victim for the activities of the insiders or the rules and regulation or the directors of the company. So what is the rules and regulation to protect the minority shareholder or the investors? Paying tax. It is another hassle for the developing country, mostly including Bangladesh. How to pay tax, number of tax paid, how many tax they require to pay, hours per year for preparing the tax return, and the total tax payable as share of the gross profit. These are the points they have evaluated. Then the international trade, the trading across the border. For export or import, what is the number of the documents required, cost, the time necessary to export and import. Enforcing contract. Enforcing contract is a real problem for the entrepreneurs throughout the world. Because if the enforcement of contract is poor, then commitment of the people will be less. It's difficult, and people usually don't maintain their commitment because of poor enforcement law of contract. And the final one, 10th one, is the revolving insolvency. If a company became bankrupt, or if then the closing up of the company is a major issue before investing in any country. The time, cost, and recovery rate under the bankruptcy process. When a company became insolvent, then they try to recover the assets and pay the liabilities of the creditors, and the balance they can take away. But so what is the procedure of resolving insolvency, winding of a company? These are the 10 variables they have evaluated. And I have tried to analyze the law and rules related to these 10 variables in Bangladesh. And I shall present one by one through my slides. Around more than 50 slides I have. So I shall require around 1 hour or slightly more than 1 hour to give an overview of the law, rules, and regulation, which is obstacle to ease of doing business.
Thank you very much. We're almost there. Just gonna for things. So just opening up your slides. So just right. I'm sharing the screen right now. Let me see. So you can see the screen, right?
It is in process. Still not visible.
Oh, still not visible. Okay.
Okay.
You can see that, right? Okay.
Now I can see.
Okay. Right now, okay. Let me just do full screen. Okay. You can continue now.
Okay. I think I cannot change the slide. You will have to change the slide.
Yes, you can just direct me the next slide, then I will just move
Okay.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So ease of doing business in Bangladesh perspective. So I have already given an overview of this my book. So it was some sorts of commercial. So let us see the second slide. Let us see the what is the ease of doing business index. I have slightly already evaluated. It is an empirical research funded by the World Bank. It's a benchmark study on regulation directly affecting the business in 190 countries. A proxy of the regulated framework faced by the private sector in the country. It does not measure what is the shortcoming of this limitation of the study. It does not approximate to the large market, quality of the infrastructure, or inflation or crime. It is not complete assessment of competitiveness or the business environment in the country. This index, it's ranked the economies from 1 to 190 because they are evaluating the study 190 countries. Each economy is ranking in calculated on simple average of the percentage ranking on each of the 10 topics included in the indices of doing business. And this sample at the business of 100% domestically owned has a startup capital equivalent to 10 times of the income per capita, engages in general industrial or commercial activities, and employ between 10 to 50. Oh, and 1 month after commencement, they go. These are the population details. They have taken some industry which are say some also SME. The survey conducted in not throughout the year country. It is only conducted in Dhaka and Chittagong city. That is also a limitation, you can say. So next please. Variable of the study, I just explained it to you. 10 variables: starting a business, dealing with construction permits, getting electricity, registering property, getting credit, protecting investors, paying taxes, trading across borders, enforcing contracts, and resolving insolvency. So next, please. Next, please. And this each and every year, World Bank used to use a slogan for each and every year. This slogan will give you an idea, overview, what they intend to study in this various yearly basis study. In the first year, it was understanding the regulation. In 2005, it is removing obstacles to growth. Next year, 2006, creating jobs. In 2007, how to reform. In 2008, comparing regulation in 178 economies. At that time, the countries under study was 178. Later on, they have added two. Reforming through difficult times, making a difference for entrepreneurs, doing business in a more transparent world, smarter regulation for SMEs, going beyond efficiency, measuring regulatory quality and efficiency, equal opportunity for all, and training for the reform. These are the slogans of the study. So now you understand what is the target they want to achieve from this, all these studies for last 16 years. Next, please. There are four key goals of the study: to motivate reform through country benchmarking. Each and every country will have the benchmark, the ranking. So to motivate the policymakers to reform them, to inform design of reform by highlighting specifically what they need to be changed. They specifically identify the what should be reformed in rules and regulation. And data set enrich international initiative to develop a effective, and also a data set which will enrich the global initiative for effective development. Dataset tries to inform the theory by producing new indicators. And also they created theory and also new indicator how to improve, how to change the regulation. Dataset qualify the various aspects of regulation, facilitating test of the existing theory, and contributing to the empirical foundation for new theoretical framework on the relation between regulation and development. They have developed the theory and they link two things, the regulation and economic development. That is the benchmark. You improve the regulation and you develop your own economy. That is this message to the policy makers. Next, please. And doing business index for Bangladesh, you can see our ranking. Starting a business, it was 100 in 2019 last year. Our ranking was 138, dealing with construction 130 out of 190, getting electricity 179, registering property 183, getting credit 161, protecting minority investor is 89, paying taxes is 151, trading across border 176, enforcing contract 189, resolving is 150. So all them are above 150 except protecting minority investor. Our ranking is 89, relatively better. We are relatively better in protecting the minority investor in Bangladesh. Others are very dismal scenario for the policy makers. Please, next, please. So let us start with the index wise on 10 variable. I have 3-4 slides for each and every variable. The first variable is starting a new business. Next, please. So here I have evaluated that what is the status for if we talk about the starting a business, then comes first the status of the entrepreneurship. Let us see what is the status of an entrepreneur in Bangladesh. Global Entrepreneurship Index 2016 revealed that Bangladesh ranked 125th out of 132 countries. So our Global Entrepreneurship Index, we are also performing very poor. Most of the developed countries explicitly recognize the entrepreneurship education. The developing country, they recognize the entrepreneurship, but we don't that much. In several countries, education and youth studies have also encouraged the development of key competency, including the entrepreneurship. And the education and youth development strategy on the basis of the competency and including the entrepreneurship development. A dream of doctor and engineer. But what is in our country? We used to educate our babies to be doctor or engineer. We frequently tell them, please be a doctor. When you'll be grown up, you'll be doctor or engineer. But we never encourage them to be entrepreneurs. And the power respect. In our country, people have respect for the power. So they encourage the entrepreneurs or the young people to join any profession which have the power and the authority in the society. So they don't look for the entrepreneur or who create job, who develop some business. They are not the powerful men. Usually the government officials are the powerful men. So those professions are very much respected, and we encourage them to join those professions. The social image and reputation credibility is lowest among the profession for the business. That is, for entrepreneurs have low image, lower reputation, and credibility is very low. The media is very unkind towards the business community. They don't appreciate the entrepreneurs, unfortunately. The government job considered the most dignified and stable job. Not only dignified, it is very stable source of income. And entrepreneurship education should start from the parents, the thereafter from the primary school level, but we don't have. We don't educate our children at the family level. In even the school level, we don't encourage them to be entrepreneurs. Bangladesh society teaches children to be BCS officer or executive of a multinational company or bank. Teachers' perception about entrepreneurship is as a very less honored profession. So Bangladesh need the reform in education system. But even then, despite all these things, a BIDS study in 2015 find that 1/5 of the middle class has already joined the business profession. And by 2025, 25%, and in 2030, 33% of the middle class will join the business or entrepreneurship. So despite all this odds, the study projected that at least 1/3 of the middle class people by 2030 will join the business and entrepreneurship. Next. Now let us come to the study of the some of the studies on time and cost needed for startup. According to BIDA, Bangladesh Investment Development Authority, entrepreneur has to follow the 9 specific procedure and legal steps to set up a business in Bangladesh. These are the few steps: opening of registration of company, trade license, bank account, tax identification number, VAT registration number, and membership of the trade association and others. After all this document, then once somebody can claim that he is a businessman. But it's a common document for everybody. It's not end of the obtaining permission. So there are further document and permission required to start a business. Next, please. Next, please. So for the registration of the company, if we analyze these few steps for registering a company, say, these steps require the name clearance certificate. First of all, there should be a application to the registrar or joint stock company to have a unique name, searching and booking that name. Then preparation of memorandum and article of association. Then fill up of the form 1, declaration of the registration of the company, form 6, notice of situation of the registered office and any change therein, form 9, consent of the director to act, 10, form 10, list of the person consenting to be director, form 12, particular of the directors, manager, managing agent, and any change, proof of payment, payment of the tax duty for registering the company, and for the stamps, and DIN certificate for all directors. All directors should have a tax identification number before becoming a director of the company. After filling up so many forms and attached documents, then one can apply for the registration of the company. Next. Document needed for trade license. After having the company registered, then the new company will apply for the trade license from the local government. So the local government, usually in rural area, union council, porishad, in city, Paurosabha or metropolitan or councillor. So they ask for the following documents: a certified copy of the memorandum and article of association, a copy of the certificate of incorporation, tax identification number, the address and nature of business. By this time, the business should have an office and it should have an address. The copy of the lease agreement for the registered office. Either it should be his own property or the leasehold property for setting up an office. 2 copies of authorized company representatives NID or passport copy. These are the documents required for submitting with the application for trade license to the local government. Next, please. Document required for the VAT registration, value added tax. The applicant should apply to the respective Deputy Commissioner of VAT with the fill up an application form, the trade license, bank solvency. By this time, they must open a bank account and get a bank solvency certificate. Owners, two set of photographs, national ID or passport copy, IRC, ERC if any enterprise is importing or exporting, article and memorandum of association, TIN certificate, and local map of the enterprise premises. So these are again all these documents for registration of the VAT with the VAT department. Next, please. Source of above statement. The statement from I have given the list in last two slides. The sources from the ease of doing business study of the statement from the BIDA. It is BIDA has itself studied, and they say the entrepreneurs don't need to pay any bribe. This is although this statement is not true in our society. The businessman must pay, entrepreneur must pay bribe to get all these documents: registration, VAT registration, income tax registration, trade license, and company registration. And so now you can understand obtaining a primary document has so many hassles. They require collection of so many documents, and application get the permission, approval from the many government department for having documents to be a entrepreneur or start up a business. Next, please. Now this second variable is the getting permission of building construction. The next, please. So land rule approval, land use, building and permit. It means they should the entrepreneur should take permission for the use of land and permission for building construction. So Rajuk are also following many laws and rules to approve land use and building permission. The work of the Rajuk, Rajdhani Unnayan Kortripokho for the Dhaka city, they are they will have to follow the Undermission law, this law and rules for approving the use of land and building construction. Those are Dhaka Metropolitan Development Plan 1995 and DEP, Details Area Plan. It is another document. The Building Construction Act 1952 and the Bangladesh National Building Code 2006, the Dhaka Metropolitan Building Construction Rule 2008, Private Residential Land Development Rule 2004, Wetland Conservation Act 2002. There are some restrictions on using wetland for construction. Strategic Transport Plan, the Transport Plan also an important issue, and the environmental law. Next, please. Continuation. And other law, the law of Washa, law of Dhaka Electricity Supply Authority, Fire Service, Civil Aviation Law, the City Corporation Law, Dhaka Transport Coordination Authority, Police, Titas Gas, Roads and Highway. These are also regulated under individual law. The Rajuk should also follow this law and rules, their regulations, their policy before approving land use. Thank you. Please. So for that is for the land use permission. For the construction permission, now Dhaka Metropolitan use the I already said Building Construction Rule 2008. The building design permit and residential permit shall comprise of the following 4 stages. Again, for the construction permission, there is 4 stages of permission. That means at least 4 permission is required to have a construction permit. There is land use certificate that previously we have analyzed. Large and specialized project permit, it is a, if it is a builder company, then another additional permission. Building permit, another independent building permit for construction of building. Occupancy certificate, after building the construction, if somebody want to occupy his own house or own apartment, again the occupancy certificate should be obtained from the Rajuk. And then the, as per law, no building and no construction regulated by the court shall be. Nobody can erect any building, construct any building, enlarge it, alter it, repair it, even move it, improve it, remove it, convert it or demolish it without obtaining permission for each and every work from the regulatory authority, means the Rajuk. So you cannot do anything without permission from the Rajuk. The offender shall deem liable under section 12 of the Act, and the punishment of such act may be fine as well as the imprisonment for the 7 years. So if you alter, if you improve your residence without permission, residence permission without permission from the Raju, you can be punished with 7 years imprisonment. So now you understand the regulation is so strict, so cumbersome. Next, please. Town planning clearance. Now, these are the mostly for the commercial builders. The town planning clearance needed for land use clearance as per Rajuk town plan and after the site visit by the authority following the procedures. A report of the site related to information should be given by the town planning section. Primarily, before giving a clearance for permission, they will inspect the place. Then they will give a inspection report. Town planner permission may be given to the developer company or applicant within validity of the 24 months. This inspection report will valid for, then they will town planner give an permission. That is valid for 24 months only. If the project is considered as a special or very big, again another permission is required, and they require additional information for the clearance. As earlier said, 4 permission. One of them is the special permission for the big projects. If the building construction is more than 10 stories or 33 meters in height, then Rajuk plan approval, additional requirement clearance of 10 authorities are required. Then if it is a more than 10 story, then other 10 departments should give permission for the construction of the building. So that means the 10 individual permission, additional permission is required. Again, after submission of the document, then inspector will again visit the place for the evaluation of the application and the authenticacy of the documents. Next, please. Continued. So after receiving town planning clearance, departmental clearance or application has been submitted to the concerned officer or committee for approval along with the required fee. So the concerned officer then the building submit it to the building construction committee for recommendation for approval of the plan. After satisfactory fulfillment of all the requirements, the committee approved the drawing with details, number, reference, and others. Then company can apply for the permission of the land clearance and construction. The process is repeatedly full of misuse of power. So how many now I can tell you around, I cannot calculate. A project require around 50 to 60 permission and approval, particularly for the developer company to start a construction of the business building. Next, please. For the 6-story building, it's relatively easy. Then for the 6th building, following Six-story building, following permissions are required. Drawing, design, document of the ownership, for clearance from the Department of Environment, promise from the electricity supply that they will supply the electricity, a promise from the no objection from the WASA for the water supply, the permission from the Titas Gas and Transmission Company for Dhaka City, clearance from the police, and cutting of the road for gas, underground sewerage pipe, and etc. It is for the all this logistic. Everybody require cutting the road to install the pipeline and others. So the prior permission also required. And if it is near the airport, then additional permission from the Civil Aviation Authority. That this 6-story building will not make any harm to the airplane. So these are the permission for the, if it is a 6-story building. Next. Now, doing business of building permission and our policy. They consider the our policy is to doing business measures, building quality control index, evaluating the quality of the building regulation, strength of the. These are the policy they evaluate in doing business index. The World Bank evaluate this policy, that what is the building quality, evaluate the quality of the building regulation, strength of the quality control, safety mechanism, liability and insurance regime, professional certification requirement. But Bangladesh law only deal with the permission procedure. There's the tragedy here. They have only in mind that they will give the permission only. They don't usually not look into the seriously into the quality of the quality index, quality of the building, or strength of the, all things they don't consider. So the problem with the World Bank study also facing so many obstacles to measure the permission of the building construction. That's why the there are some comparison in the Dhaka city index is the 16, while average in South Asia is 15.2, in OECD country 12.7. Time required for permission 181 days at Dhaka, average 165 days South Asia, and 153 one day in OECD countries. So there is a complex situation. What ease of doing business want to measure, and what our policymaker have in their mind to give the permission of the building construction. Thank you. Next. Study of the TIB. There is a study of the TIB on building construction permit. So if you look into the study of TIB, they says without the service of the dalal, nobody can avoid the hassle and unnecessary delay. And so usually all the applicants usually take the service of the dalal or the agent of the officials. To 53% take the service to avoid the harassment. 22% to avoid spending time running after it. They don't want to spend time, so they want to save their own time, so they go for the service. 7% to avoid the complex process of plan approval. 13% of the applicant for the other reason. 5% for obtaining approval of construction plan. Only 5% only to have somehow get the construction plan approved. So these are the perception of the applicant who took the service from the dalal to get the approval from the permission from the Rajuk. These are the study of the TIB. Thank you. Next. Getting electricity. After construction, so let us getting electricity. Next slide, please. Document needed along with the application. For getting electricity, a applicant must give signed copy of the application form, 2 copies of a passport size photograph, authorization letter from the parents of the joint venture partner of the joint venture company, attested copy of the deed of ownership of the occupancy of the land where they'll construct the building, need the electricity, wiring certificate, load assessment required in the prescribed from. Uh, it means this assessment done by the DESHA, electricity supply, mutation document of the land, attested copy of the Rajuk permission, attested copy of the document regarding uh, holding number of city corporation competency authority. City corporation after a building construction, city corporation used to issue a holding number. They require the clearance from the fire service, if applicable, clearance from the environment department, or trade license if applicable for the if it is a commercial building. Next, please. Process of getting electricity. That is the application process and how to get. After obtaining this document, then they submit the document, and the experience of the studied people that on average 20% of the consumer face harassment during the new connection. Around 80% of the consumer PTB require unusual delay in new connection process. Application of files usually above around 36 to move around 36 to 38 table until the application finally get the connection. Until the applicant get the connection, they is required, the file will move to 36 to 38. Real cause of delay is the illegal practice, and largest delay is the DESCO for providing a new connection was 100. They require 103 days. But at the payment of the bribe, the connection can get, somebody can get within 6 to 7 days. It's very interesting. If they don't pay the bribe, it will require 103 days. If they pay bribe, then they can get it within 6 or 7 days. And the survey to 94 of the applicants took the new connection through brokers and agents to avoid the hassle. TAB study observed there's a 3 type of legal survey contracts are available with the applicant for new connection is 40% contract for the whole package. 50 is a the complicated study. Somebody can how much contract with the they obtain from the dalals this for the service from them. Only socially and politically powerful consumer have the much easier time to get the service without any hassle. For them, bribe is mainly limited to paying tips or lower level working level people. For the powerful men, they will give some tips only, but for the common people or for the entrepreneur, they must come into agreement with the dalals for getting the electricity connection. So the approval process and the corruption is the main obstacle for getting electricity. Next, please. Registering the property for setting up industry or construction of house. Registration of property, it is under Registration Act. Obtaining an inspection for the mutation is the final document of the ownership. Without mutation, none can have the registration, building construction or they can construct a building there for industry. So obtaining inspection for the mutation is required inspection, verification of the record of rights from their own books in Tahsil office, obtaining non-encumbrance certificate from the Tahsil office, preparing deed of transfer, and paying stamp tax, paying capital gain tax, value tax, and other taxes. These are the steps for the registering property. The next, please. Process of land registration. The buyer appointed deed writer or lawyer to verify all the documents and land division obtain current khatiyan. Khatiyan also another document. Buyer also pay the tax fees, including capital gain, etc. All these so many other taxes. The buyer supply all receipts and certified copy of the current khotiyan to the deed writer and pay stamp duty. The deed writer review the document, prepare 2 copies of the deeds and undertake the non-encumbrance search. I said only non-encumbrance search certificate. Then they search for the non-encumbrance certificate. And then when the deeds and documents are ready, the deed writer, seller, buyer, and the witnesses stand in front of sub-registry, go to the sub-registry office. The sub-registry accept the deed, khatiyan, all documents, prepare a receipt showing the document registration number, registration fees, and tax paid by the deed. After the sub-registrar take the oath from both the parties. The parties take oath in front of sub-registrar. Then the sub-registrar will take the thumbprint of the seller. Then issue certificate that deed of the buyer and also issue a notice to the land transfer to the AC land office. The buyer then goes to the AC land office, from Tahsil office to AC land office for request for the mutation. Again, after buying, the new buyer need a mutation. That is the final certificate document of the purchase or the right of on the land. The sub-registry will manually enter the deed into the Balam book or the record book, notify the buyer, then the deed is registered and ready for the collection. All the formalities for the buy and sale of a land. Next, please. So mutation. Mutation, I say, is the final document, the actual document of ownership is the mutation. For mutation, you see the process of updating the before application of the applying for the mutation, the last all the document for the up to the last owner should be updated and obtain a certificate of the land record. The immediate past owner should have updated document. Otherwise, they will not do the mutation for the new buyer. The task is carried out by the AC land office and Tahsil office. Buyer applied to the AC land office for mutation, receive the certificate of the deed from the sub-registry office. They require document, certified copy and photocopy of the deed, certified copy of the khotiyan, photocopy of the land along with the main copy and many application. Then sub-registry office many other documents, statement, revenue, certificate of porcha, city survey certificate, certificate copy, all these documents. Many documents they will collect, they will ask to keep. Then they will process the mutation. Continue, please. Next. The AC lenders review the application, transmit it to the Tahsil office, receiving the application. After receiving the application, then Tahsil office review the current record, land use, status of the land tax payment, any pending litigation, then transmit the preliminary approval to the AC land office after thorough investigation. The another office is the Kanungo, another office. He will review all these documents then AC land notify the buyer about the hearing date. There will be a hearing on the application. Is there any somebody challenging the application or not? Receiving then final review from the Tahsildar. Then Kanungo carry out the final review. All this file will go the up and down, up and down. Then continue, please. Next. Next, please. Okay. The AC land review the final approval of mutation. Finally, and all this time, anybody cannot do it without the cooperation of the dalal or the agreement with the dalal for payment, the unofficial fees or bribe. Then the unofficial, without the unofficial expenditure, you cannot get this mutation. Interesting enough, after all this scrutiny, you will, the study says, World study says the 50%, after so many scrutiny, when they will give a mutation to you, then if the World Bank study is that after so many record and investigation, 50% of the mutation is not correct. That is the tragedy in our country. Okay, next please. Example of Thailand. So let us evaluate our next door neighbor. In contrast, in Thailand, buyer and seller, if the buyer and seller agree to transact 1 unit of land and building, they will simply go to the land office. According to World Bank, then the buyer and seller will go to land office, then the officer at the information desk will request ask for the required supporting document, the ownership document, their identity card and title certificate. Only 3 documents. They will give the ownership document and their own identity. On receipt the officer, he will verify the document with the official record. He has all the record in his office. And if the documents are okay, then they will interview the parties, the buyer and seller. Then they will see the official sales agreement. After the officer calculate the registration fee, they will fee the registration fee instantly. Thereafter, registration fee, withholding tax, and specific business tax are payable for the Ministry of Finance, but collected by the land office. They will not go to the bank or the Ministry of Finance. The same land office will be collect this fee on behalf of the government, and this transfer is finished. It is as simple as having a cup of tea with the land officer. It is, say for example, within 10-15 days they can get the restart. Now they're getting credit. Bank loan. Say if we start with the MSME, micro, small and medium enterprises, there is no mandatory law to give credit to these small and cottage industries. Bangladesh Bank have a credit guarantee scheme because it is very difficult for the small and cottage industry to get credit. In many other countries, there is a mandatory law to give to compel the bank to give credit to these SMEs. But in our country, there is no such law. And also, it is an advisory. Sometimes central bank used to give advisory service. Please extend credit to SME. But those are the policy, not the law. And sometimes in many other countries, there are export guarantee credit scheme issued by the government or the central bank. That means this government or the central bank used to give a credit guarantee scheme to cover the credit of the small and medium enterprises. And so by this time, Bangladesh Bank has issued a scheme on 3rd November 2020, only by last month. It is for the risk sharing, but not any contract with the borrower. That means it is not the unconditional coverage of the credit. It is a risk sharing with the bank and the central bank. So when the question of sharing the credit risk, then bank are not willing to accept this credit. Don't want to utilize the guarantee scheme. And now there are in each and every country there are credit information bureau. The credit information bureau is a record bank. They used to support the bankers about the prospective borrowers. They keep the record. On request, they provide this information to the banks about the credibility of the particular applicant, so they can decide whether they will give the credit or they evaluate the ranking, so that how much money they can extend to the some certain borrower. But in our country, CIB is a credit control mechanism. They only keep a record of the defaulter customers and advise the bank not to extend credit to these defaulter customers. But in many other countries, if a borrower is a defaulter in a bank, they can switch over to another bank and they take credit. But in our country, it is very restricted, and so it is regressive in our country. There is no collateral registry or no collateral law. In many other countries, the people have movable or immobile property registered with the registry. So if somebody go to the bank for credit and they want to give mortgage their property, then the bank, it's very easy for the bank to go to the credit registry, and credit registry will give the history of the all the properties, movable or immovable, all the background, who is the owner, who is the real owner, what is the capacity, what is the price of the this probable collateral properties. So unfortunately, we don't have any the collateral registry or even a no law. There is no secure transaction act. Many country has secure transaction act. All this law and policy used to give a comfort to the bankers to extend credit to any borrower. And there is no policy in our country to extend credit to a borrower against the goodwill or market reputation. It is very much used in many other countries that bank can extend the credit on the basis of goodwill. If any borrower have good reputation in the market, so they will not spoil their reputation. They will pay back the money. So they extend credit to this borrower without any mortgage. There is no trade credit insurance in our country. There is no coverage of trade credit by the business. If one business is to provide credit to the another business, there should be a credit insurance to cover possible loss. But we don't have any credit insurance, and there is no trade finance company. Bank have many formalities. They used to follow many formalities. They have many rules and regulations. But in many other countries, there are trade finance company. They used to finance the trading. They are not the bank, but they are the business. So there is no provision of having trade finance company, setting up trade finance company in Bangladesh. And there is no practice of trade credit for many reasons. So these are the obstacle in getting credit from a bank in our country. Next, please. Bangladesh have an MSME policy 2019. It has proposes these kind of services to the SME. It is a policy only. Access to finance, access to technology and innovation, access to market, access to education and training, access to building support and service, and access to information. If you look into the SME policy, it's very lucrative. All the details is there, but unfortunately, this is a policy only. It is not a law. It is not mandatory for any department of the government. So the policy itself is useless for MSME or medium, small enterprises in Bangladesh. Next, please. Trade financing without collateral. In the previous slide, I said trade financing. So what is trade financing? It's very interesting. We are in a trading is the main promoter of the in this open economic system. We are in a global supply chain. So in global supply chain, the main business is the trading. We import something, we add some value, then export it to other countries. So in this process of trade supply chain, it requires some sorts of financing, very quick, by the bank or trade finance companies. These trade finance, interestingly, the beauty of trade financing is it doesn't require any mortgage or any security. The trade financing mechanism itself has a security of the credit. So all this listed trade finance procedure is the open account, import and export, open account, no, without any LC, open account financing, purchase order financing. If somebody have any purchase order or an order from the overseas buyer, Against that purchase order, bank or financing company can extend credit. Account receivable, overdue, a deferred payment of a exporter or a trading company. Against the deferred payment guarantee or receivable documents, bank can extend credit to this business or exporters. Factoring is another interesting advance credit for the exporters. It is a post-shipment financing for the exporters, and the exporter will immediately get the payment, but the factoring company will collect the money, say after 120 days from the importer in United States or Canada. So it's very interesting for the exporters and easy for the exporter to get quick money. Although the buyer will pay the money after 90 days, 120 days, or 180 days. Another is the supply chain finance. The supply chain mechanism has a finance system or credit because somebody is supposed to get some money, and he also supposed to get some money from the next party in the supply chain. So all this in this chain, one can support another company with the supply chain finance without any security. Commodity trade financing. Commodity trade is a big issue. Financing commodity trade as various advanced mechanism of commodity trade, and the non-bank financial institute and bank also have a special financing procedure for commodity trade. That also through this mechanism, the credit is secured for the bank. The hedging service is the a coverage of the loan, the method, the procedure is sharing of the risk is hedging. So it's in throughout the world, in domestic market, local market, or the overseas business, if somebody commit to buy something at a price, say petrochemical price, suddenly price go up or go down, then in hedging service, 7 or 8 companies share this liability, risk. So and if somebody keep the warehouse receipt is, if somebody keeps some valuable material in the warehouse and against the receipt of this warehouse, bank used to extend credit. Unfortunately, all this trade financing listed here is not available in Bangladesh. Next, please. Now, the protecting investors. Investors in a joint stock company, there are small minority shareholders. Then the shareholders are the weaker party in the as an investor, and usually in the company there are 2 types of insiders who can manipulate their position. They are the managers or the managing as and the controlling shareholder. Those who control the company, manage the company, the managing director or director, or the some other shareholder who actually control the major share, dominating share to control the decision of the company. But apart from these 2, there are small thousands, maybe thousands of small investors. They don't have voice, so they are suffered in many ways. We'll come into the later on. And how to protect these minority shareholders? They need the only procedure is through the law. Their right can be protected through the Companies Act, Law of Contract, Bankruptcy Act, or Security Law. And how does the process? The process is to disclosure and accounting rule. If the disclosure and accounting rule is very transparent in advance, the minority shareholder will be protected. Standard accounting and audit system, corporate governance. Usually, the companies in many countries, particularly in developing countries, there is no corporate governance in management of the company. One or few, the manager or the controlling shareholder used to control the decision. There is no fair management. Legal framework may be given right to the change the directors. Even sometime there may be a legal law in the Companies Act or any other act that the minority shareholder can also remove the directors, although they are minority. There may be a provision in Companies Act. Forced dividend payment, there should be a forced minimum payment of dividend, or minority shareholder can influence or voice their demand in the annual general meeting to give a minimum dividend. So it is also another instrument to protect the interest of the minority. Sue the director and get compensation. Even they can sue the directors for this dividend if the rules regulation permits in any country. And if their interest is not served, then they can apply for the liquidation of the company. Even if these are the rules or privilege given to the minority shareholder, they can protect their own interest. Even another option is to change the capital structure of the firm, change the allocation of the power. The capital structure and power allocation may be also an option between the insider, the outsider investor, and all, so that this require an investment policy of the government or the country, how to balance between insider and outsider investors. Next, please. Obstacle to FDI. The investors, when we are talking about the investment, the protection of right of the shareholder. Another, the outsider, those who foreign investors also evaluate the law and regulation, and we need FDI. So what is the obstacle to the FDI? Economic sensitive development of the global competition. There is a competition globally. If the country has per capita income, low income, recurrent political unrest, social and business environment and shortcoming, lack of infrastructure, recurrent natural disasters. If you look into the 6 obstacle, natural disaster we cannot control, but we can improve. Any management, government can improve infrastructure and business environment. These are the issues evaluated by the ease of doing business. Again, if there is a ease of doing business, then this country can survive in the global competition. So the country will be competitive. So that's why the obstacle to FDI is reflect the ease of doing business index, how it influences the FDI in a country. Next, please. Now, let us have, you usually talk about the FDI to Bangladesh. I say other ways around. I want to discuss the withdrawal of the FDI from Bangladesh. Say why some of the FDI have withdrawn from the Bangladesh. I have given 3 stories of the GSK. It is a British company. Sanofi is a French company. Chang is a Taiwanese company. They have recently withdrawn from the their investment from Bangladesh. International country risk guide observe that policy risk, high risk of corruption, bribe connected to the import and export, license, exchange control, all these are the reason. But why these 3 countries left the country? GSK and Sanofi has, they are both of them are pharmaceutical company. They were facing an unhealthy competition in Bangladesh, according to their private statement. They did not give any public statement for their withdrawal. They say in Bangladesh, the sale of pharmaceutical raw material for medicine is regulated or practiced by the local pharmaceutical industry. Is they used to discount or to the doctors, to the hospital, or to the shopkeepers to promote their product. So, but this multinational company, they are not willing to give unlimited discount or bribe to the doctors. They don't want to give excess commission to the uh, drug stores. And another problem is that for importing the raw materials, the import of raw materials is also well regulated. Drug administration is the regulatory authority. No pharmaceutical company can import raw materials without prior permission from the drug administration. And usually, if pharmaceutical company apply to the drug administration, is require few months to get an approval. But they need to pay some bribe in order to get the permission within one or 2 days. But according to policy, this multinational company cannot give bribe to drug administration officials. So their application remain pending for months together. By this time, they face shortage of raw materials and other problem. Price of raw materials go up or go down. So they face problem in supply chain of raw materials. Cheng company, it's a they invested in Bangladesh Sabar Tannery. So according to policy of the government declared that they will set up effluent treatment plant for treating the waste disposal of the tannery. But for last 10-12 years, the government could not set up the effluent treatment plant. So since there is no effluent ETP in our country, Western buyer refused to buy leather or leather goods from Bangladesh. They says they did not give the environment certificate for the leather industry in Bangladesh. So the export of leather fall down from Bangladesh. So this Cheng company, they applied to the government that since you cannot give a service of ETP in Savar Tannery area, let us invest our own money and set up our own effluent treatment plant, ETP, so that we can release the water and we get the certificate from the Western buyer and export to buyer. But Bangladesh government refused to give them permission to set up ETP plant in Bangladesh. It is an investment. They were willing to invest their own money to set up ETP to get an export clearance from environment department in Western Europe for export of. So if they are allowed to set up ETP, it was beneficial for the Bangladesh. It could earn more foreign currency from export. But unfortunately, Bangladesh government refused to give permission to them for setting up ETP plant. So it was a suicidal decision of the Bangladesh government. So now you see, if we talk about the FDI, why they are withdrawing from Bangladesh, you will see how difficult is doing business in Bangladesh. Next, please. Bad examples. We have already set up some bad examples and given wrong signal to the investors. Restriction on FDI in logistic and freight forwarding services. Bangladesh government decided not to allow foreign investment FDI in logistic and freight forwarding business. They presume that Bangladeshi companies are sufficient, but actually it's not correct. Logistic is one of the important part of the supply chain for reducing cost of product. Bangladesh is very poor in logistic and freight forwarding. And global buyers always complain that your logistic cost is very high. That's why your price of your product is very high. We usually talk about the low product cost in our country because of the low labor cost. But the interesting enough, the cost is really high, higher than sometime Vietnam, because our logistic is very expensive. So logistic means it's a service from taking delivery of the goods from the exporter's warehouse, transporting it to the port, completing the formalities, loading the ship for the destination. So this process is very complicated because the overseas buyer don't rely on the local logistic companies, freight forwarding companies, because they don't have equipment, they don't have knowledge, they don't know how to handle the sensitive cargo, and there is a pilferage, theft in port and in transit. So they rely on foreign companies. So they encourage, they prefer a foreign company supporting them in logistic and freight forwarding. So, but we are Bangladesh government has restricted 100% FDI, foreign direct investment in Bangladesh logistics. So it's a bad example. Attempt to frame policy to restricting FDI in e-commerce. Bangladesh is not willing to give overseas companies to have e-commerce business in Bangladesh. Then they prepare a draft policy to restrict it. Then there was a lobby, counter lobby. Finally, Bangladesh government has withdrawn their their draft policy of restricting the FDI in e-commerce. But it creates a sensation in the global market that Bangladesh is inviting FDI in Bangladesh, but they're restricting FDI in e-commerce. And you know, Bangladesh is having 100 free trade zone under construction, of 20 or 25 free trade zone under construction, and some of the this free trade zone already started giving lease to the prospective overseas investors. But suddenly in this year's budget, government has imposed VAT on lease of the land in economic zone. It was not originally declared that those who will take lease of land in this zone, free trade zone or economic zone, they must pay the VAT. Unfortunately, it is an additional sudden imposition of tax. And that's why what I said in the last slide, that withdrawal of some investors from Bangladesh. And also another bad example is the intervention on arbitration of Saipan and Bangladesh case. Saipan is a contractor in Bangladesh in gas sector. So there was a dispute between Saipan and Bangladesh government. Then they went to arbitration in Bangladesh arbitration center in Bangladesh, in Dhaka. And the verdict of the arbitration was in favor of Saipan, and the verdict was against the Bangladesh government. Then the Bangladesh government goes to the court, and Bangladesh judicial system, the court impose an injunction, stay order on the decision of the arbitration council. According to Arbitration Act of the country, the judicial system, the court of the country was not supposed to intervene any arbitration decision, because arbitration decision is final. There will be no appeal on this. But Bangladesh judicial system already intervened in the Saipem case. So it is a bad example for overseas investors. And there is no visible initiative for free trade agreement. Free trade agreement, if we don't have free trade agreement with the source of raw materials, say like China, the investor in Bangladesh are unable to import duty-free raw materials from major source of raw materials in China. And if we don't have the free trade agreement with the mainly the overseas, say Western buyers, then they will impose tax. Say for example, United States imposes tax on Bangladesh exports, but those who have free trade agreement like Vietnam already have a free trade agreement with the United States. They are going to have duty-free access to US market, and we are going to lose our LDC status in next year, 2024. Then Western countries also giving us Bangladesh the free duty-free access. but they will withdraw this duty-free access by 2024. So if we don't have a free trade agreement within 2024 year, then we are going to face huge extra tax on our export from the Western world. So we must immediately have our free trade agreement with source of raw materials and with the buyers. But unfortunately, there is no visible initiative to sign a free trade agreement. Usually, negotiation of a free trade agreement require 10 to 12 years for a smart country like Vietnam or India. But we are not that smart. We are not that learned. We don't have experience of negotiating free trade agreement. We need more than 12 years. But unfortunately, we have only 2 years time to sign a free trade agreement. So these are the bad example and bad precedences and wrong signal to the foreign investors to invest in our country. Next, please. Paying tax. All the business used to pay tax. So it's apparently it should be very easy that government will get the tax. So why the procedure will be complicated? Unfortunately, the process is very complicated. In developing country, also in Bangladesh, there are multiple authorities of tax, income tax, customs, and VAT tax they individually conduct the audit several times without any notice, arbitrarily. So the sudden audit by all these departments is a real hassle for paying the tax. And for paying tax, the business in our country require 2 separate registration, one for value-added tax, one for income tax. But in many other countries, single business registration is sufficient for all service, all income tax department or all service from the many other department. It doesn't require registration or approval from many departments. So Bangladesh, by this way, Bangladesh should accept the audit report and also introduce international reporting standard IFRS in our audit. We are not applying actually the international financial reporting standard in our country, but unfortunately the National Board of Revenue have a policy of raising higher tax. It's another obstacle. NBR is always trying to increase the income of the government. So they don't try to for a fair assessment also. They are not looking for the fair assessment, fair judgment to determine the actual tax. They want to increase only the tax. So when they try to increase tax, sometimes they do injustice to the taxpayers. And in Bangladesh, the tax rate is highest among the regional country and also in one of the highest tax in the world. Bangladesh companies, some of the companies and bank paying income tax of 45%. Some of the public limited company paying 35%. But usually in regional countries, the highest tax of a company is maximum 25%. So tax rate is very high. And the decision making of income tax department is very slow. Next, please. I say the number of tax etc. is very high. According to Doing Business Index of 2011, enterprises used to pay 7 types of tax: VAT, CIT, municipal tax, capital tax, gain tax, tax on interest, stamp duty, contract, and vehicle tax. On an average, a business requires 302 hours. For VAT, 162 hours, and corporate income tax 140 hours. And IMF, International Monetary Fund, find that enterprises need overall 304 hours for tax compliance. In the study of this 2011, 45% respondent opined that cost of paying tax was more than the cost of avoid them. So it is better to avoid the income tax, because if somebody want to pay tax, then the total tax is higher than the if somebody want to avoid the tax and pay the tax and bribe both together is high, less than the actual tax payment in Bangladesh. So the matter is so complicated that the corrupt people are encouraged to evade the tax. The good doing business ranking in 2011 was 151 out of 190 in paying tax. Next, please. Determination of transfer pricing. Transfer pricing is a method usually multinational company used to uh, practice to avoid the tax in one country. So in each and every country, there is a protection or mechanism to identify the transfer pricing. So in Bangladesh, there is a Bangladesh Customs Valuation Determination Imported Goods Rule 2002, to which they follow to stop transfer pricing. So how they do the transfer pricing? And the transfer pricing is if the tax is high in Bangladesh, they will make the raw materials price high. They will bring the raw materials in Bangladesh, and they will prepare the finished product and sell it to Bangladesh market or export. But they will try to keep the profits. It is mostly pharmaceutical multinational company. They will make profit in a country where income tax is low, and try to make through this transfer pricing mechanism less profit in high tax countries. So this is called the transfer pricing. They do it through import of machinery, import of raw materials, export of finished product and others. So manipulate the pricing. So but unfortunately, the way the policy of NBR is adopting, the multinational company feel that Bangladesh government is using transfer pricing regulation to curb the capital flow outflow from the country. They got an impression that Bangladesh government is trying to stop capital outflow from the country with this transfer pricing. NBR has a mindset to apply all regulation to increase collection of revenue. Again, they have a mindset that they want to increase the revenue for the government, and they arbitrarily impose tax on this multinational company with their discretionary power. And naturally, all these extra, when they try to collect extra tax, when they try to increase the tax, they actually discourage the FDI in Bangladesh. So the transfer pricing policy of Bangladesh is another obstacle in investment FDI in Bangladesh. Next, please. Arbitrary customs valuation. You know, the Bangladesh is very much in global supply chain. We usually, Bangladesh exporters usually import raw materials from other countries. But unfortunately, Bangladesh has a very high customs duty in entry point. And according to history, according to the record theory, there are many tax, but the worst are regressive tax is the tax on import, either in custom tax, income tax, or any other tax VAT. If any country impose this tax at entry point, that is very regressive for the business, because it require additional income, because they pay income tax in advance, VAT in advance, but they recover this VAT from the consumer after 1 year. So say for example 1 year, that means unnecessarily they are invested their money for 1 year, which is useless, unproductive. In 2018 and 19, the import excise tax was around 27%, very high, highest, I should say, highest in the world. Unfortunately, again, say the customs authority or the official has discretionary power. Usually, the taxation is not fair, uniform, and is not neutral for the valuation. No, neutral means for import and export, for different nature of category of business, is not neutral. For somebody, some tax are high, for somebody tax is low. There is another problem is when they find identical goods or similar goods, they used to impose a higher tax from the available record. So when they argue that there may be identical product, but if there is the product is similar or identical, they can't say the same product and they cannot impose higher tax. But there is no visible effective definition of the word identical goods or similar goods in our Customs Act. Article 7 of GATT in 1994, which we are member party to it, the assessment should be on transacted value. But in our country, the customs valuation is not on transaction value. It is on a arbitrarily determined value by the customs department. And as per the GATT 1994 agreement, there should be a consultation between importer and the tax administration for impose of tax. This consultation means if there is any problem or there is any objection from the customs authority, they will invite the importer. They will discuss the issue. They will settle the issue on negotiation. What should be the tax? What is the quality of the material? What is the, whether it is an identical product or a similar product or a different product? But customs department never consult the importer. Bangladesh can resolve the problem by introduction of 100% utilization of SI-CUDA plus software. But Bangladesh has introduced SI-CUDA plus software in Bangladesh customs, but it is not 100% operational. Everything is operational except the assessment of the value of the import. So that is the point where all the manipulation or the corruption is involved. The customs official used to try to assess the value arbitrarily or manually. So to avoid this, to overcome this crisis, there should be the full operational of SI-CUDA plus software in our country. The arbitrary power of the customs officer should be withdrawn as per existing customs law. So the customs valuation is one of the major obstacle in ease of doing business and also a obstacle to the global supply chain as well. Next, please. VAT law and owe to the SMEs. The VAT law is a very complicated law because the business are not paying VAT. VAT used to pay, value-added tax used to pay by the consumer, but the business is the collector of the VAT from they pay in advance to the revenue department, then gradually they collect this tax from the end users. So the VAT system is a law which require the business will pay in advance the VAT and then collect from the consumer. So without any benefit. But it may not be a problem for the big industries or big trading house who have enough logistic and manpower, but it's a very difficult for a SME to maintain the record or collect the VAT and pay the VAT to the national exchequer. Because if there is any advance tax in entry point, VAT or tax in import and withholding tax, these are they withhold in the entry point or in customs on the raw materials. But unfortunately, the small SMEs cannot have the record or continuation of the document to avail the discount credit of this advance payment. And again, there is a for the small SMEs, there is a provision of turnover tax or a threshold for the not paying the tax. Say up to, if the turnover is up to 8 lakhs taka for a small traders, they don't need to pay the VAT. They don't need to collect the VAT and pay the VAT. But the business output of a business ranging from 8 lakhs taka to 80 lakhs taka, they can enlist for the turnover tax VAT. Turnover VAT means they will keep the record of annual turnover. They will pay 3% gross VAT on their annual turnover. So it's an easy one-time tax payment. Don't require maintaining any record on it. But the problem is that who will determine the annual turnover of the business? It is the customs official, VAT officials. They used to certify that this business has annual turnover of less than 1 lakh taka, 8 lakhs taka, so they don't need to pay. Or this company have turnover between 8 lakhs to 80 lakhs taka. They can then certify that they can go for turnover tax. So for obtaining this certificate from the VAT officials, it's a very complicated, because it is totally at the discretion of the VAT officials to give this certificate. So naturally, after withhold these SMEs, those who either not paying the VAT or registered in turnover tax, they can't give the VAT credit to the next buyer. So when there is a so their business go to a narrow path, they don't get the enough customer to sell their product. If a compliant company wants to buy from this turnover tax company, they cannot get the credit of previous tax paid. So again, they will have to pay the tax on tax. So this cascading effect of tax on tax is rampant in our country. So usually, in true sense, this ultimately goes to the account of the consumers. So the total VAT law is so complicated, so cumbersome. The SME cannot get the avail the opportunity of VAT credit, and also they are paying the higher tax, but they are not happy. They are regulated by the customs with tax official with high discretionary power. So it's a very difficult situation for the SMEs in our country, particularly concerning the value-added tax. Next. Trading across the border. Next, please. So we are in supply chain. Let us evaluate the and our business. Major portion of our business is concentrated in Dhaka city and Chittagong city, and you know, it's a general perception that Bangladesh is a very cheap country, less expensive country. Now there is a dramatic record study on 3 cities of this region: Colombo, Delhi, and Dhaka. So it was a competitiveness indicator. They evaluated by 39 attribute or variable on garments industry cluster in Colombo, Delhi, and Dhaka. The observer find that the RMG is usually a high competitive product for export. It's driven by the keeping the labor, transportation, material, and utility cost off. Usually, RMG is a low cost, so there should be a low labor cost, low transportation cost, low raw material cost, and utility cost. But what we see in case of this city, unfortunately, Dhaka is less competitive than Colombo and Delhi. Dhaka can offer lower price in 3 because Dhaka has an abundant unskilled labor. Why Bangladesh is competitive? Because of unskilled labor. and also utility charges are slightly low. The supply chain of RNG backward linkage have strong impact on price. The backward linkage. The backward linkage of source of raw materials, so sources of components, and other services. Unfortunately, the competitive score of Dhaka city is 2.10, where Colombo is 3.2 and Delhi is 2.13. It is out of 10. So total only Bangladesh is cheaper in labor, but in any other 39 competitive attributes, in many other attributes is high in Dhaka. So naturally, Dhaka is an expensive city among Colombo, Delhi, and Dhaka. Next, please. Now, competitiveness of Dhaka Airport. You see, Dhaka Airport has capacity of 2 lakh ton, but it handles around 3 lakh ton annually. It is overcrowded with the export. 40% of the imported goods lay, because of that, 40% of the imported goods lay in open sky due to shortage in cargo complex. Naturally, so when the product are in open space, then there is a pilferage, there is a wastage, risk of spoiling the products. Now, let us see in Kolkata, the charges are 4 cents only in terminal handling and security scanning charges. But in Dhaka, the charges is 30 cents per kg for vegetables. 4 cents and 30 cents. And Dhaka airport to Europe, the freight is $2 to 2.20 per kg freight. On top of that, above over and above the freight, the forwarder will have to pay 8 cents per kg to the Biman Bangladesh Airline for terminal handling charges, 6 cents per kg to the Civil Aviation Authority CAB as different security scanning charges, and also 2 cents to the per kg to the semi-automation charges from the export cargo, and also around 4 cents per kg speed money. It was also possible to, interestingly, exporter can save around 25% of this cost if they supply it to Kolkata airport. Then also exporter can save 5 hours time if they use the Indian airport. This rate is too high, and Dhaka is more expensive than Singapore. Interestingly, for all these charges in Dhaka airport, so many charges, Biman charges, terminal charges, Civil Aviation Authority charges, scanning charges, bribe and others. Dhaka airport has become more expensive than Singapore. It's very unfortunate. Next, please. Now, again, competitiveness of Dhaka airport. The Biman, why this is competitiveness is not competitive, because Biman is the authorized to handle the airport. But logistics suppose like an infrastructure, other facilities are provided by the CAB. Civil aviation. The Biman charges extra 15% royalty, on which is unlikely in other countries. Service provided by Civil Aviation Authority, but Bangladesh Biman charges extra 15% on this service charges. Some exporter airlift their goods to Colombo. That's why some exporter used to use Colombo airport. After a short transportation through Chittagong to, what they do, they take the consignment from Dhaka to Chittagong port. They transport it to Colombo by sea. They take the delivery in Colombo. They transport it to Colombo airport. Then they export it to European countries. Even then, Colombo is cheaper, of course, cheaper than Dhaka, and even cheaper than Kolkata. You see, if a consignment is going from Dhaka to directly to say Toronto in Canada, it is more expensive than if some exporter transport it from Dhaka to Chittagong by road, Chittagong to Colombo by sea, then it exported from Colombo airport to Toronto, cheaper. So now you see the other problem in Dhaka airport is Dhaka Customs Authority, Biman Authority will insist for a document that no product is missing. Give all experts used to give a certificate that no product is missing from Dhaka airport. Either there is a incidence of theft or pilferage or wastage in mishandling, but they will have to give before transportation. They will have to give a no product is missing certificate. It is an undue privilege taken by the Biman Authority. National Board of Revenue on principle decided to set him a private inland container to overcome this problem, but it is in policy only because Dhaka airport is unable to handle so many export. And the free trade zone authority should allow this cargo handling service in free trade zone. Otherwise, we cannot overcome the problem of Dhaka airport. We cannot make the product competitive if they export to Dhaka airport. Next, please. Free economic zone. Free economic zone is free trade zone, duty-free zone, tax-free zone, free export zone, special economic zone, whatever be the name. It includes the inward processing, manufacturing under board, export processing zone, temporary admission for re-exportation in the same country or same state or custom warehousing. It is part of the global supply chain or global value chain. Bangladesh has a very limited bonded warehouse facility. Bangladesh Revenue Department used to give bond warehouse to the facility to the garments industry and not other industries. So other industry is unable to get duty-free export, import and export, import of raw materials and export of finished product. So in order to overcome this and also re-export, we can utilize duty-free, free economic zone, free duty-free zone. China, India, and Asian country are the strategic market for us for re-export, for processing and re-export to other these countries, because we are very fortunate that the giant economy like China, India, and Asia are very close to Bangladesh. So, but we are not availing this facility from duty-free zone. We should allow this economic zone to import raw materials or finished product, repack it here and re-export to other countries. But unfortunately, we are not allowing it in our country. But India has already allowed 10 re-export zone, and they are taking over Bangladesh market from Dubai and Singapore. They are because India set up these 10 free trade zone focusing Bangladesh and other neighboring countries. So it should be other way around. Bangladesh could set up 100 free re-export zone and export all these products to China and Indian market. Unfortunately, we are not doing. We are not availing this facility from our free trade zone. Next. Poor logistics service and FDI. I have already slightly discussed this matter. It comprises transportation, warehousing, brokerage, express delivery, terminal operation, even data and information management. In data information management means they used to maintain the record for their buyers, for their customers. Say a European garments company, they can give the transportation, warehousing, brokerage, expressway, operation even, and also the storage data to the logistic company. Because what should be the minimum quantity of finished product in their warehouse in any country in the Western world. They used to maintain the record. They used to deliver the consignment from Bangladesh and any other countries so that they can use for the optimum utilization of the working capital, storage, warehousing. So that's why it's a modern concept that this logistic company is maintaining the warehouse data of the Western buyers. The logistic performance index, there is another survey. They used to survey study the 6 dimension efficiency of the clearing process in the border, in the customer house for import and export, quality of the trade and transport related infrastructure, that is port, railroad, internal road, information technology, etc. Ease of arranging competitively, pricing shipment pricing, cost of transportation, competence and quality of logistics service, competency and logistics service quality, and ability to track and trace the consignment. It is another service given. They can track the consignment, they can track the container, which local company cannot give in Bangladesh. That's why in the previous slide I discussed that the logistics service should have FDI. Otherwise, we cannot give all these services mentioned in this logistic performance index to the overseas buyer. Bangladesh LPI score is 2.8 out of 100. So poor ranking Bangladesh have. You see, we need improvement quite a lot to get closer to the ranking of 100. So Bangladesh require huge investment in logistics service, and we must withdraw the ban on FDI in logistics service. It is an obstacle to ease of doing business as well. Okay, next. Other reform for cross-border border trade is a liberalization of the import, very complicated import procedure, easier payment of both way international trade, payment of import and export. There are huge obstacles. Ratification of custom convention in international transportation goods covered under TIR carnet. We did not yet sign the TIR convention because the cross-border transportation or re-export is allowed under TIR carnet. Bangladesh is not signing this convention, ratifying the convention, reason not known. Effective advance ruling for the fair assessment of the import. Since the tax is very high, in many other countries there is a system of advance ruling. Bangladesh have an advance ruling policy, but that is not effective because they have mindset of increasing the tax for the government. So if somebody apply for the advance ruling, they used to fix the HS code at a higher tax deliberately. So the people don't take the service of the advance ruling. Authorized economic operator. The self-assessment of the customs duty is a very advanced procedure to make the easy cross-border trade. Bangladesh have, in theory, the authorized economic operator system. They have given experimentally 3 to companies, but they are not widely using this facility for the import and export of material into and from Bangladesh. Paperless trade and international. Bangladesh committed to introduce paperless international trade, but still it is in process. For import and export, the import and export are going to customs, different offices, huge hard copy of the document. There is no assessment or no facility of paperless trade. There is no single national single window to reduce the hassle of signing documents, approval of the documents in customs or any other office. As Aikuta software, I already told you, it is not fully operational. It should be operational for assessment, automatic assessment of the import and export document. There is no FTA, no preferential treatment, no regional trade agreement. Bangladesh is going to be isolated country in the world. Bangladesh is the only country in the world who don't have FTA, bilateral FTA. So Bangladesh should go for immediate bilateral FTA, PTA, and RTA, regional trade agreement. Otherwise, we cannot make easy the cross-border trade. Next, please. Enforcing contract. Next, enforcing contract is a main instrument for, because business means contract. It's either signed or verbal or over telephone. It's both local and international trade. Is full of contract. The enforcement of contract is very complicated in our country. There is no mechanism to simplifying it or enforcing the contract easily. Bangladesh economy is mostly in informal sector. So it's very difficult to enforce informal contract in a formal court system. The non-institutional enforcement contract is very poor in our country. There should be a institutional and non-institutional informal enforcement of contract, mediation by the PR business, by the association, by the friends. Contract responsibility less than 10 months in New Zealand, Norway, but in Bangladesh, it requires 4 years in Bangladesh. So contract responsibility is so lengthy, it requires 4 months. There are also wide variation of the cost of contract enforcement, ranging for 21% of the value of the chain claim in OECD countries, 51.5% in sub-Sahara countries. The largest expenses of attorney fee is tried to decrease as an enforcement of judgment. On average, such fee is amounted to 2/3 of the total cost. So that's why people don't go to the formal enforcement. They try to have an informal but easy enforcement of contract. If the cost of the enforcement is 2/3 of the transaction value, then it is useless for a business to get a formal contract enforced by the court or regular system. In our country, the enforcement of contract, we usually follow the mastans, law enforcers, leaders of the ruling parties. When the mastan is enforced the contract, they take the lion's share. Sometimes the enforcing, as a police or other department also do the job of enforcing the contract, but they are very expensive. That's why the Bangladesh businessman used to join the politics and became the local mastan himself in order to enforce the contract. Bangladesh should bring back the traditional shalish system with volunteering service of the shalikdar. Shalish is one of the very few things the nation can be proud. We have our shalish system. We had our shalish system in our society. We can be proud of that. So we should introduce shalish system in our country in business enforcement contract. Next, please. Legal system. The technical capacity legal here business dispute is very poor in our legal system because the traditional litigation and business disputes are totally different. And also the capacity of the court system, the logistic, caseload, backlog of the cases is another obstacle. Case management practice in the court, there is time the sanction is delayed, there is no timely use of information technology is not there. Tracking the cases between implementing procedure is very difficult. Judicial rule and other recording system and case histories is very complicated to identify. The ability of the court is not suitable for the enforcement of contract or business dispute. So our legal system is not really suitable for the business dispute or enforcement of a contract. So it is common in many other countries, but in our country it's a very complicated, really cumbersome. So we need alternate system of enforcement contract or settlement of disputes. Next, please. International arbitration. We are talking about the ADR. There is a global system that if the arbitration is done in any other country is place bound to enforce the arbitration judgment. But unfortunately, Bangladesh government have a negative perception about the international arbitration. They don't want to enforce the judgment given by the Singapore Arbitration Center or London Arbitration Center. Because they have a perception that foreign arbitrators will be biased against Bangladesh. They are concerned about the so-called national sovereignty and integrity. So there is a concern about the, again, if we go to the court, there is a concern about the national sovereignty and integrity of the local court, lack of local legal skill, access to the foreign expertise, and strength of individual cases, corruption and pre-investment contract negotiation. All these things are complicated. So if the enforcement, if somebody try to go to the court even for enforcement of the arbitration in overseas country, again, it fall into the trap of the legal system because they don't have a skill to enforce the international arbitration. So when there is a obstacle in enforcement of arbitration, then foreign investors or foreign business are not willing to, very eager to go business or open-heartedly invest in Bangladesh because arbitration of overseas arbitration central is not really enforceable in Bangladesh. Next, please. So there should be a reform to boost the confidence of the investors. The law related to investment protection and promotion, educating the key government officials on the impact of international arbitration and investor confidence, developing the skill of negotiation and legal skill of the lawyers and those who are involved in this process, implemented due diligence procedure to scrutinize the international investment contract. We don't have that capacity. So we need a major reform in rules and practice to gain confidence of the overseas investors. Next, please. Next. Alternate dispute resolution. Bangladesh don't have any mediation law. Bangladesh don't have any commercial court. Arbitration Act have some limitation of enforcement of international arbitration, as I discussed in earlier slide. Bad precedence of interference of court on arbitration decision. I have discussed in the earlier one slide that in Siphon case, the local court has intervened in the enforcement of arbitration decision of arbitration court within Bangladesh. So there is no alternate to introduce, change, amend all this introduction of mediation law, commercial code, and some amendment in Arbitration Act, and try to educate the related people to understand the impact of enforcement of arbitration in our country. Next, please. Next. United Nations Convention of Contract for the International Sale of Goods Acts. We are discussing about the difficulties in enforcement of contract in Bangladesh. So there is a convention on contract for international sales. So since we are in global supply chain, we must sign this international convention on sale of goods. But unfortunately, Bangladesh is not signing this contract. It is adopted in 1980. It covered different avenues. You see the dispute resolution, international contract practice, transport, insolvency, electronic commerce, international payment, secure transaction, procurement, and sale of goods. It suggested the modern uniform legislation for international sale of goods that would apply whenever contract for sales of goods are included between parties within a place of business of contracting parties. So it suggests reform in all this procedure. But it inspired the national government to amend the contract law, other law, national level, to make the smooth global transaction. Bangladesh should immediately ratify the convention and reform the internal own law and regulation for smooth functioning and enforcement of law, enforcing of the contract in international trade. Next, please. UNITOID Convention on International Factoring. We have discussed about this factoring slightly in other small portion of this factoring in other slides. International trade is financed by the factoring, and the factoring is another type of financing the bills receivable, exports receivable. So for regulating this international trade finance and the sales contract, enforcing our contract, there is a convention on factoring, which Bangladesh is not willing to sign this convention. So he is falling behind the other countries. Next, please. Next. Resolving insolvency. Next, please. Bankruptcy. Bangladesh Bankruptcy Act is a very, very difficult. It does not recognize the companies. It only recognizes the individuals. It provides, there is no balance between the different stakeholders, debtor protection or creditor protection. The process, there is no process of liquidation, reorganization, liquidation of insufficient entity. It goes directly for the bankruptcy. So it is a very regressive law, and also Bangladesh borrowers, the bankers are not go for bankruptcy. It should be radically amended, reform the bankruptcy law in order to attract overseas investment and local investment. Next. Orthorin Adalat and bankruptcy law. I have compared these two. The Orthorin Adalat and bankruptcy law is very regressive. It is a black law. It discourages the investment. This should be reformed before expecting investment to make the ease of doing business for the investor, local and overseas. Next. Next, please. The Bankruptcy Act, I already discussed. I think we can conclude here my presentation. The end of my presentation. Thanks for the patient sharing. Thanks to Edward Mondal for giving me opportunity to present the state of affairs of ease of doing business in Bangladesh. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was great presentation, and thank you for sharing your expertise, knowledge, and which is very needed. There are a lot of points that we need to note down, and then I guess we'll be sharing this one briefly with our next upcoming sessions. The key issues that we'll be highlighting. Because of time, I would like to conclude the sessions, and would like to thank you again, Mohammad Sahazan Siddiqui, legal economist, Bangladesh. And I would like to invite you our next upcoming session. We usually um, do our sessions. This is our fifth episode. So this is on business economy and entrepreneurship to encourage the business, the economic growth, and the entrepreneurship. With that, I would like to thank you everyone, and those who are in Canada. This is a morning, 10:40 in Mountain Standard Time, and then 12:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Toronto, Ottawa. And in Bangladesh, I guess it is 11:40 p.m., which is night. So I guess it's almost late night. So thank you very much for being with us. And please follow us. And if you have any questions or inquiries, you can contact us through info@prerona.tv, or you can comment in our comment section. Thank you very much. With that, I would like to conclude, and stay safe and stay blessed.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.